What we celebrate here today is just one of the many great things happening throughout the South Bend community. We all know that such optimism and positive energy does not appear out of thin air by magic. It just doesn't. It has to start somewhere. It's got to have impetus somewhere. And in my opinion, here in South Bend, that vision and that energy starts at the top. Since entering office in 2012, Mayor Pete Buttigieg has done more to modernize and improve our city than most people ever thought possible. However, the biggest contribution, I think, was giving us South Bend citizens the hope that our future was indeed bright and that the best was yet to come, and we could accomplish anything if we put our collective minds to it. I think we would all agree that South Bend is a much better place today than it was in 2012. And our future, because of that, is even more exciting. So that is why I am so honored and proud to be honored to introduce to you the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, Pete Buttigieg.
Well, good afternoon. And first of all, I just want to say this is my first chance to speak at a community event in this space. And when we cut the ribbon on this Martin's location a year or so ago, we did so partly hoping that things like this would happen in this space. So it's terrific to see us making good on that belief and promise that the West Side deserves great places like this to gather. And I'm so pleased that you're here. Specifically to the celebration at hand, first of all, Tom, I want to congratulate you, not just on this, but everything that you and John and your team have been doing. You've got a lot to be proud of, so thanks for everything that you do and your commitment to the community. This is a time when we rely on businesses to take seriously the relationship that they have with the community, because everything good that is going on, everything that people like me get to go brag about, the sorts of things that make mayors look good, the successes, the growth, the investment, the jobs. All of these things require that so many different parts of our community be pulling in the same direction. And that includes the public sector and the private sector and the social sector. And we see one example of that today. The terrific news and the great developments that we've had in this city would be empty if it were not something that was shared across the community. And we know, even though our economy is growing, the number of jobs is growing, the level of income is growing, the total of investment is growing. We know that there are many parts of our community that have been left out, or that have been, for no good reason, somehow prevented from fully participating in that story. Many of those people are new Americans, residents, immigrants, to our community, which is ironic because our community was built by new arrivals. Our neighborhoods, particularly the neighborhoods here on the West Side, 100 years ago, as they are now, were filled with large, new, working families. They just were mostly speaking Hungarian or Czech or Polish or German. In many of those homes where now Spanish is spoken, or any of a number of other languages. And so when we decide that we are going to take new steps toward inclusion, we also know that we're honoring the best in our own history and our own heritage as a city. That's why I believe we have a great deal of community support for making sure that this is a community that belongs to everyone. It's why we have partnered to support the development of diverse and new small businesses, including making sure that there are physical resources for them. It's why we made sure that municipal identification is available to anyone who wishes to say they are a card-carrying resident of South Bend, regardless of their immigration status. And it's why we want to pause and recognize a moment like this when a local financial institution demonstrates that it is doing more, as John said, than putting on a button, but really taking the steps required to be a friend and an asset to an entire community. Financial empowerment is part of how our community grows. It's not just about the economic numbers that mayors are inclined to chase. It's about families. It's about the ability of our neighborhoods to become more prosperous and more safe and more warm and more welcoming. And the stories of families are told partly through the decisions that are made in credit unions and other financial institutions. And the currency of our community is also something that financial institutions think about a lot, and that is trust. The same thing that makes a government work, the same thing that makes a neighborhood work, is what makes the entire financial industry, certainly the financial industry when it's working at its best, when retail banking and small business banking is doing what we hope it can, is based on trust. The trust that forms between people who know each other or come to know each other and support each other even if they have nothing in common besides the very fact of living in this community itself. That trust depends on communication. That kind of communication is the sort of thing that the very concrete and sometimes challenging steps you have taken to earn the Juntos Avanzamos designation represent. And so for that, we congratulate you. And let me, puedo tratar de decir pequeño parte en español. Lo siento de que mi español no es excelente, pero esta idea es tan importante por todos nosotros, es que la confianza es la fundación en la vida de una comunidad, en la vida de un vecino y también por los negocios financieros. Esta idea de la confianza, mismo como la confianza entre el gobierno y el pueblo, es la confianza entre los vecindarios y la confianza entre, por ejemplo, los bancos y el pueblo. Y es para crecer en confianza que el estilo de comunicación que esta designación representa es tan importante. So, again, congratulations, and I look forward to growing together as one community with support from partnerships such as this, with the public, private, and social sector coming together as one. Thank you.